Hello and welcome to Vishnu's IAS Academy, Hyderabad. I take this pleasure to welcome all our online community students, all the offline classroom students to today's Hindu newspaper analysis, where, as you may be aware, we are going to analyze the Hindu Hyderabad edition of today, which is the last day of the month, 30th June 2025. Let's pick up all the UPSC relevant articles. As I said before, some will be straightforward articles such as the ones given on the first page, while from the editorial page we may talk about some more complex abstract articles which I will explain you step by giving you the context and then various points. Also, I will discuss how relevant are these to which GS paper in the UPSC mains exam. On that note, let's begin today's analysis. On the very first page, if you analyze, there is an article that talks about the three-language formula. It says Maharashtra government has decided to cancel. Scrap means to cancel, to log out of this policy. Which policy? The new three-language formula policy. This immediately reminds us of the new education policy or the National Education Policy 2020. We know it is a revolutionary policy in India. Why? Because only for the third time, Indian government has introduced a policy to change our education system at the primary, pre-primary, secondary and higher level. Only third time this is happening because last two times it was done, one in 1968, the other in 1986. So not many education policies have been created in the country. Hence the 2020 policy, very important. Out of the many important features which are directly asked in GS paper 2 mains exam, as well as in the essay exam, as well as from the ethics point of view, it's a very important question. What is so unique about the National Education Policy 2020? Well, among the three most unique things, one, it gives a lot of emphasis on vocational based learning, that is the skill based learning, giving children a chance to improve and train on vocational skills like singing, dancing, manufacturing, dealing with some kind of carpentry work or art, something related to cooking, anything that translates into getting a job or self-employment in the market. Second important thing about this policy is how it introduces a mandatory compulsory system of preschool education called as the Anganwadi system of education. Whereas the traditional education system in India was following the 10+2 model, this new policy will not follow the same. It will include at least 5 years of compulsory primary schooling. Only beyond that we can think of proper schooling for children, secondary schooling for children. The third and the most important thing is the native language. Clearly the education policy of 2020 said we want all Indian children in school to learn lessons in their native or the mother tongue until the grade 8th. And this is where the controversy broke out. The government said, let's once again introduce the rule of three-language policy, which means every child in Indian schools will be introduced to 3 languages in curriculum. One will be English and the other 2 can be any Indian languages, and this is where the debate comes in. Although the policy says, apart from English, the 2 remaining languages can be any Indian languages. And when we say Indian languages, we know that there is an 8th schedule in the Indian Constitution which talks about 22 languages, which are official languages of India. They are identified, which means education can be taken up in any of these. But for a majority of state governments, particularly the southern states or the non-Hindi state governments, this is a threat. It is a threat of imposing Hindi on them. It is a threat of forcing them to learn Hindi. It is a threat to their state culture. Clearly we see here regionalism. Clearly we see here ethnocentrism, which is a very fundamental part of Indian society. You will study in GS paper 1 social issues that Indian society is highly characterized by problems of regionalism. Every state experiencing a supra integration factor. Every state feeling that their culture is extremely important, sacrosanct. Sometimes regionalism becomes negative nationalism. And this is a kind of sentiment we see here. Although Hindi is not our official language, but states in the southern Indian region, or many other regions also, they feel that in the 3-language formula, one Indian language will be compulsorily Hindi. And that's why the debate also broke in Maharashtra. After a long agitation by not only the educationists, but also the local politicians, local academic people, they said that let us cancel this policy. We will not introduce the 3-language formula for the fear that Hindi will be imposed on us. And this is where the debate broke out. So finally, what is the result? Today, there has been a committee which has been appointed, and this committee will now decide and give a decision very soon whether it is okay to introduce or reintroduce the 3-language formula, or whether the current decision of the state government to cancel the 3-language formula for grades 1 to 5 stands valid. This is coming after more than 2 months of opposition by people within the state who feel that any language imposition apart from Marathi is unfair. Now, there is one more article in the editorial page, very important today because it relates to this article. In that editorial article also, we are talking about the complication behind 3-language formula. The ruling government feels by introducing 3 languages, 2 Indian languages compulsory apart from English, we are creating national consolidation. We are doing a national integration. But for the people on ground, it is an attempt to promote only Hindi and not any other Indian language. That's the fear people are living with when it comes to this agenda. So with that, we will also see that article soon. But as of now, Maharashtra government has cancelled the 3-language formula application. The article on the left hand side column quickly, it again talks about the census. We are all excited about the census that shall be conducted now from August end 2026. I told you day before yesterday, this time census that shall be released in 2027 will be happening in 2 phases. The first phase, that is going to start the next month, will be about enumerating people's housing units in India. The second phase that shall start early next year, that shall be about population enumeration, the head count of population, how many individuals, total number of people, density of population, all of that. So with that news, this article is saying that the government at the center has clearly told, rather the Registrar General of India has informed all the states that before the 2027 population census happens, we need to prepare a housing list. For that, it is important that all the states will now freeze their administrative boundaries before 31st December 2025. It is important because there has to be a deadline after which no more administrative changes can be made in the area or the territory of any state. Because if the changes continue to be made after 31st December, population counting and enumerating the census will become a challenge. So therefore, as per this rule, now the states will have to completely declare the existing boundaries, and this exercise has to be closed by the end of the year, that's 31st December. Beyond that, no more changes in boundaries of administrative units until the census is revealed. That's an important thing to know. And now let's quickly proceed forward. But before I go down to the editorial page, this is a slightly important thing. We should know about it because such topics, welfare policies of the government, policies taken by the government regarding the geographical index tagging, policies taken by the government regarding giving farmers some kind of subsidy or support are very crucial for GS paper 2 social justice. So here there is a small piece of news that talks about the Turmeric board. Now, the purpose of the government behind setting up a separate turmeric board is to improve the income of the farmers. A very common agenda in the news. Last year, everybody was busy talking about the fair and remunerative price given on sugarcane. Okay, there also the purpose of the government was to provide some basic minimum income to the farmers in the form of minimum support price, so that irrespective of recession, irrespective of market ups and downs, irrespective of say pandemic situation, a war situation, climate disaster, farmers are assured of some standard income on a monthly and yearly basis. Something similar comes into picture here, as the government has now fulfilled a long-standing promise by creating the headquarters of the National Turmeric Board in Nizamabad. So this happened yesterday. It was inaugurated by the Home Minister, Shri Amit Shah. The important thing is that this turmeric board will take care of establishing supply chains, value chains for poor farmers who are cultivating turmeric. Then they will also help farmers in commercializing and selling their products in market by providing packaging, warehousing, storage facilities, transportation, marketing, branding and exporting turmeric outside India. Do remember, turmeric is one such thing that is very popular not only in Indian cuisine but also in Ayurvedic, or rather Indian alternate medicine. When we talk about Indian alternate medicine, you should immediately think of the Ministry of Ayush. Do you know when was it established? And do you know which all alternate medicine systems come under Ayush? If yes, do comment, do let us know. I'll be happy to hear your response. So, also remember that turmeric is extremely rich in curcumin. Curcumin is an ingredient in turmeric which is known to have antiviral, anti-cancer and anti-inflammation properties. Indian turmeric is specifically very high in curcumin amount. The concentration is very high. So therefore, it is popular the world over in various kinds of medicines and cosmetic products. So just an important thing to notice here. And now, as we proceed further, let's just jump on to the editorial page, the most important yet the most difficult page in every newspaper. Okay, so let's proceed. Alright, so here comes the editorial page. Today we do have some important articles here. Let's begin with the first one. But I'll begin today with the one on the left hand column because we just spoke about it. This editorial article talks about language of unity. You might be thinking, the title of the article says, when you introduce the three language formula, you are promoting unity. No, title is a satire. A satire is a sarcasm. In reality, the article is saying something different. Article here is saying that uniformity or homogeneity. Now, when you study Indian society, social justice, or any of you who are studying sociology, you know you may have heard the word homogeneity very often. Homogeneity means similarity. What do you think? Is Indian population or is Indian society homogeneous? Are we characterized by homogeneity? No. Indian society is very heterogeneous, opposite of homogeneity. This article talks about the same. Article is saying when you introduce concepts like multiple language learning, don't forget that India is a polycultural society. Polycultural is a very good word to describe Indian society. Polycultural is a society that has not one but many cultures living together. India has religious diversity. India has linguistic diversity. India has racial diversity. You may have seen Dr. B.S. Guha's racial classification. How many races are intermingled today? Yes, of course, we have various castes. We have various ethnicities. Now, never get confused between race and ethnicity. These are two different concepts. India has many. India has tribal diversity. Article says in this much diversity, how can we assume that introducing same language upon people will create homogeneity? We cannot create homogeneity by forcing us to learn the same language. So the article is unhappy with the three language formula under the new education policy 2020. It says that this policy of 2020 has made it compulsory that all the students in all the Indian schools will learn three languages. As I said, one will be English. What about the other two? Any Indian languages, right? It could be Hindi, it could be non-Hindi. But the problem is that in India, especially in the southern Indian belt, it is becoming a problem. Because these people are feeling that Hindi then becomes one such compulsion that students have to choose anyhow. There are many reasons for that. One reason, as per the article, is that people are realizing that in the northern Indian states, despite the three-language formula being tried and experimented, hardly any student knows the Dravidian languages. Students are not aware of languages like Malayali, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, which happen to be our classical heritage languages. But students don't know. They are very comfortable with taking English, Hindi. In general, they would prefer learning a foreign language over learning an Indian language that's a non-Hindi one. So then why are we forcing students in the southern Indian belt to learn Hindi? That's one question article is asking. Another thing article is saying that states like Maharashtra are also deeply divided on the language issue. Somehow there is a sense of insecurity among people that if Hindi becomes a standard second language after English or third language, then children will either take Marathi and of course English, and the third resort will be Hindi. Why? Because Hindi teachers are easy to find. There are more schools which will hire Hindi teachers because a lot of North Indian employees work in southern states as teachers also. It's easy to find people to teach Hindi in schools, but it's a challenge to find people to teach other Indian languages in schools. Then the school also has limitations. A school doesn't have too much budget. You cannot expect a school to offer you all 22 Indian languages. That won't happen. So how will a school decide which language to offer and which not to offer? Obviously, school will go for its own convenience. In that case, students will have a limited buffet, a limited choice to pick from. And at the end of the day, Hindi will become universalized. That will lead to a forced homogenization, a forced homogeneity, which is not possible because India is internally very heterogeneous. There is cultural diversity. That's what the article says. Now, article is also saying that generally there is a political angle also to imposing languages. The government or the party that is in power will always want to endorse its own language, its own ideology among people. Given the fact that today BJP is the leading party, it will want to force Hindi because then Hindi symbolizes its political power and its culture. That will be very unfair to those who do not want to follow the ideology, the idea and the thought process of the BJP party and its followers. The article is also saying that there are 15 languages right now which are being offered across various schools in India. But it has been seen that majority of students at the end of the day learn Hindi as the third language, even in South Indian states. We have never seen students choosing from one native, one English and then another non-Hindi language. Suppose for example a student in Tamil Nadu, it's very rare that they learn English, Tamil and they pick from say Kannada or Odia or Malayali. No, the third always happens to be Hindi. So that's something the article is talking about. Article is also saying that if you want people across India to be comfortable in Hindi, then make people in Hindi speaking belts comfortable with classical Dravidian languages. That will be very fair. So therefore at the end of the day, article is saying that the ruling government should understand that in different states of India, different languages are comfortable for people. Let that be the case. Until people are showing a willingness or an extreme desire on the part of the state government to adopt a three-language formula, don't force it. You have to reconsider that because language of unity does not mean language of homogeneity. India is an example of that. In India, as per Dr. Jawaharlal Nehru, we used to believe unity in diversity. What is the real meaning of unity in diversity? It means unity without uniformity. Diversity without fragmentation. That's the spirit of Indian Republic. So forcing a blanket language may not solve the purpose. Okay, so that's the article. Quite important for GS paper 2. You might wonder which kind of questions will come. A very direct question can come either. They may ask you that which suggestions of the National Education Policy 2020 were creating a political controversy across non-Hindi speaking belts or states in India. They can also ask you a very complex question. They may say that the debate about three-language formula in the National Education Policy 2020 highlights the fact that India is deeply divided into regional lines. Any of this question can come, so be very clear about this debate. Okay, with that, let's proceed with the main editorial article. This is very simple, but it just looks a little lengthy. Let me break it down. They are talking about a new amendment that had come last year in 2024, if you remember. Very important for polity, GS paper 2, where Indian Penal Code was replaced by the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. We know that Indian Penal Code was all about giving certain punishments, making certain laws with regards to criminal jurisprudence, meting out punishments, talking about what protocol to take through the police, through the courts, when a crime has been committed. So we are talking about the criminal justice system here, the criminal law here. But Indian Penal Code was considered as very backward, age-old, obsolete, colonial. So therefore, in a very ambitious step, the Indian government chose to change it. And they implemented the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, the BNS. That was one change. There were two more changes. Total 3 changes happened last year, if you remember, in criminal law. One I've spoken about. Second was that Code of Criminal Procedure, the CRPC, was also replaced by the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, Nagarik Suraksha Citizen Safety Act. The third one was Indian Evidence Act 1872. Indian Evidence Act was changed and made into the Bharatiya Saksha Abhiniyam. Saksha again means evidence, proof, witness. So these 3 changes were done. These were very, very ambitious changes. These provisions now are slowly being incorporated into our policing system. All that is good. Plus, there are 2-3 more things important to understand, that after these changes were done, our criminal law has now been moving towards technology. We are using a lot of technology today in meeting our criminal jurisprudence. In what ways? A very good example here could be the discussion on FIR, the first information reports. Earlier, if there is a crime committed or there is a fear that a crime may be committed, suppose in a police station one FIR is being lodged. It is very difficult. Earlier it used to be very difficult for one police station to coordinate with the other police stations in case the case needed to be transferred, or in case, suppose a crime has been committed in one area of the city, but the FIR was lodged in a very remote or a different police station in the same city. Or for example, in a different city but within the same state. In that case, how will you make sure that the concerned police station will have access to all the information? It used to be difficult. But today, because of technology, we have online tracking systems which are known as the Criminal Tracking Network Systems, which are known as CCTNS. This is very important today because this shows the use of technology in modern criminal law. Now what is happening? There is a concept called interoperable criminal justice system, a platform in which various police stations are coordinating with each other very well. Through online monitoring of the cases can be transferred very easily, and various police stations can coordinate also across various cities within the same state in case the crime is such that it needs evidences from different areas altogether. This has made the law enforcement very, very easy for the police personnel concerned. That's what the article says. Article is also saying that although a smooth transition from the Indian Penal Code to the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita is taking some time because not all police personnel are well adapted to online technology. Not all systems are ready yet, especially in remote and smaller tier 2, tier 3 cities. But we are trying. Another interesting thing is about zero FIRs. Zero FIRs mean, for example, if a crime is being committed in my region, in where I live, and I go and raise an FIR in a police station that is far away from my house, maybe because that is all I could access at the time of problem. Earlier, as I said, it used to be a problem in shifting the report. in shifting the case from one police station to another. Today, it's very easy to register a zero FIR. I can register in any police station out of my convenience, and very smoothly through online tracking system, it will be transferred to the station concerned. So that has become a very easy thing for the people who are victims of crime, also for the police people, because now they have easy access to information too. Now, only thing to worry about is that all this is being done within a state. As I said, zero FIRs can be created, but either different parts of same city or different cities within the same state. Yet we are to achieve that milestone where there is a similar coordination between various states in the entire country. That will make our system absolutely more transparent, and more the solutions to problems of policing will become much more smooth. That's what they are talking about. So yet it's a very big milestone, and the credit goes to, of course, the Ministry of Home Affairs. Now, another very important thing article talks about is how technology today in crime department has led to implementation of e-Saksha. E is electronic, Saksha is evidence. So we are talking about electronic evidence. It is a mobile application. Now you can keep the evidence or the witness statement against a crime that has happened with you, stored safely forever. Nobody can damage that evidence. Nobody can take it away from you, because it is taken quickly. It is captured right when the crime happens. This is called real time. Real time means immediately. Just the crime happens, and now the police is able to, in very short period of time, capture all the details of the crime, because the police people are equipped with smartphones. Particularly, it's an Android application. So now it is compulsory that all police personnel who are responsible for investigating such crimes will have access to some Android device, so that they can capture video, audio clippings, photos, whatever they find, and they will be stored forever in the application system. Nobody can remove it from the database. Besides, various agencies investigating the crime can have access to this database all the time. So this again has made it very speedy when it comes to solving crimes. Now, NIC, talking about the National Informatics Center, this in consultation with the Ministry of Home Affairs together are implementing this application. This has made it very easy today for the police to investigate and store evidences for future relevance also. With that, there is another important thing. Now, there is something called few pillars, few basics of solving a criminal case. For example, one is that you will be able to capture all the evidences in real time, as I said. Second is that today there is a rule that every police person who is investigating a crime will have to involve a forensic expert immediately. It cannot be delayed, it cannot be postponed, but right when the crime scene is being investigated, a forensic officer has to be present. This makes sure that nobody is able to destroy or tamper with the evidences of the crime, and the forensic expert will get correct information, so that there is no injustice happening later in the related case. Similarly, we talk about creating situations like feedback system. Now, the people who are investigating the crime will have to update their feedback on the same database immediately, so that later on, if they want to change their mind under some pressure, later on if they have some political force, they want to take back their statement, they cannot. So we are making sure that right then their evidences, their words are captured, and we know that this is authentic because it happened immediately after the crime. So today under the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, calling a forensic expert, immediately taking the statement of the investigating officer and storing it, making it compulsory to take photos, videos on the Android application and uploading them on the online database for people to see. All this has been made compulsory now. Besides, there is a very interesting provision that the investigating officer has to capture a selfie also. A selfie, so that the overall quality of investigation is reliable. We know that this was the very person who has investigated the crime. Later on, nobody should change the statement. Now, therefore, as I said, under section 176 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, a forensic officer is compulsory now. He has to or she has to visit the crime scene. At the same time, the article also says, although these technological interventions are wonderful, it's very good, but there is a small problem. Implementing such a high quality of technological sophistication is not that easy. It needs a complete change of the system. For example, to take the videos and to take the photos The government must make sure that electronic devices are distributed and they are well available within the people who are responsible for investigating the crime. Similarly, usually most of the investigating officers are using equipments like pen drive in which they save all their data. So that the article is saying that is unnecessary expenditure for the government. So we need to make sure that we move out of buying expensive pen drives, then training people to use them, to a more easy system, like the Android based system of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. You take a photo and it automatically you can upload it on the portal. No need for you to maintain any hard storage with you. Tomorrow it can be stolen, it can be taken away and misused. So all these things article is talking about. Now article is also saying that apart from that, a very great thing is that through the e-Saksha application, we are also trying to create a automatic generator. Automatic generator means that if tomorrow such electronic device is stolen or taken away by somebody, there is a tag there that it will be traced, and the government, rather the investigating police people, will come to know that it has been there is some kind of manipulation done on it, or there is some tampering done with the evidence. So all that information the government will get immediately in real time. So with all this, the ultimate thing that article is talking about is that today all the states and union territories are ready to, of course they have implemented the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, but what we really need is that the investigation officers today are also still trying to adapt to the new system. Sometimes they have to fight a lot of complications in such complex cases in the courts. So to make their lives easy, we need to have more resources to be allocated to investigation officers, and also they should be sometimes allowed to use separate gadgets which have all the Android features, so that they do not have to spend separately and buy their own gadgets. So make life easy for them. Application on ground has to be easy for such an ambitious plan to roll out successfully. That's the pitch of the article here. And with this, quickly let's see another article. This is just below what we spoke about. This is revisit digital search powers under IT Bill 2025. Quite an interesting read, because again it touches upon another very important article, provision of our modern day politics. This is the right to data privacy. Right to data privacy today has become a very crucial issue. Remember when I was talking about census operation or census enumeration being done online completely, I spoke about how it is a danger to the privacy of so many people whose data will now go online. Something similar this article is also saying. It says Finance Ministry recently created a proposal in the Parliament. Under this proposal, under the Income Tax Bill 2025, a change will happen, and this change is that now the government will be allowed, or the investigation agencies will be allowed to visit people's online digital spaces also to conduct search and raid operations. Earlier, only physical spaces could be accessed, like houses, offices, or factories. But today, their websites, their social media accounts, all their storage can be accessed to by the government without any obstacle in between. This will include the end-to-end encrypted messages on platforms like WhatsApp. This will also mean that irrespective of whatever passcode or password a user has created, the government agency will be able to crack through it, and no accused shall be able to escape when it comes to their online information. So therefore, easily the government will get access to all private information regarding finances, and it will help the government and rather agencies like the Enforcement Directorate to solve issues which deal with, say, GST tax evasion or income tax evasion in general. Looks like a very strong step, but the article says it is creating a concern about the privacy and over surveillance of the government. Quite reminds you of things that are done in countries like China and Russia. That's what the article says. Article says that it could have a very deep implication for our society. Why is it not a good idea? Because today, as of now, when you talk about Indian tax law, under the section 132 of Income Tax Act 1961, the government agencies can only access your physical space. As I said, your lockers in banks, your houses, your factories, or your offices. That's it, which is okay because all your professional data regarding finances will be housed here. But then when all the operations will be now going online, and the government will be able to access your various online platforms. What privacy an individual will anyway have, because online is a domain where people keep their private data also, their photographs also, their personal professional contacts also, their various kinds of posts also. This kind of intrusion into their digital space is a complete breakage of any data privacy that we can think of. It also means that the investigation agency can see your emails, they can see your social media posts, they can completely understand the dynamics of your accounts, not only now but also when they were created back in time. So in backdate also, even if you have deleted something, they shall be able to access that. Now this is creating a danger here, because this means tax authorities will override their limitations of reasonableness when it comes to intruding into an accused private space completely, because no electronic gadget will be safe anymore. It can be investigated, it can be looked up into, especially platforms like WhatsApp. As I said, they deal with encrypted messages, but that also the government shall be able to intrude through. Now if this problem happens, then individuals who are accused of some financial crime, for example, sometimes they can be people who work under secrecy. These could be lawyers, these could be journalists, these could be people who hold certain sensitive information which does not deserve to come out in open. What about in such cases? Then apart from that, sometimes the government can use unreasonable excuses and simply hack into somebody's online space just to make their case stronger. What about that? In 2023, Supreme Court of India had also said that until there is an absolute necessity, there is no need to invade anybody's digital or virtual space. And yet this proposal by the finance ministry is talking about something that's completely different. It is an invasion of privacy in every way, a serious invasion of privacy. So it is a violation of transparency as well. Now this has certain very bad impacts on the public. For example, people will not trust social media platforms. Online communication in professional spaces will be highly controlled by people. Especially it's applicable on youngsters who will be more than nervous to use their online spaces freely, because they feel tomorrow for any reason the government may invade my privacy. My data is no more mine. All these things the article is raising a question upon. The article also says that, for example, in the US, the Supreme Court had decided that until there is a necessitated or compulsory warrant in the hands of the investigation agency, they cannot access an information that is deeply personal in nature. But this proposal in India right now is not following that norm either. Now this leads us to a very interesting case of the Supreme Court in India itself, and this court happens to be the very famous 2017 Puttaswamy case. In this case, clearly we spoke about reasonableness and proportionality when it comes to maintaining somebody's privacy. This is also therefore referred to sometimes as the privacy case. Okay, now under this case, it was a landmark judgment because Supreme Court said that the right to privacy is also a fundamental right under Article 21, which is the right to life and liberty. So right to privacy is covered here. But if you allow government agencies an unstoppable access to your private personal digital data, then you are completely going beyond the scope of Article 21 as per the Supreme Court. When we talk about data privacy, there is a word called proportionality that comes under question. Proportionality means the government has to make sure that in case you are trying to access somebody's personal data or private digital space, the reason should be very, very strong. The reason should be so strong that without this, there can be a serious crime. Until that logic is justified, the law of proportionality cannot be used here. So you should not be able to access anybody's private space until this is the last resort for any government agency. So therefore the article is saying that this is not a very right step to take, and it completely violates the very spirit of right to freedom and the very spirit to right to privacy, which is a very integral part of right to life itself under Indian Constitution. So with this, we are done with the editorial page. Now, as I said earlier also, a question on the debate between right to privacy, rather data privacy, the right to information, and today this new idea that's coming, the right of the income tax authorities to invade digital spaces. All these are very, very important debates. They can come in the question. So have some perspective on these. These articles give you a lot of information regarding such important debates that are ongoing in Indian politics. Okay, so with this we proceed, and I think we are mostly done with today's newspaper. We proceed down the sports page, and yeah, the last thing I would just want to mention quickly before we end is about the Election Commission of India. Now recently Election Commission of India has delisted or removed from its data roll many private political parties, many political parties that are registered but they are unrecognized. So why is the Election Commission of India removing so many parties suddenly, and what are these registered but unrecognized political parties? So let's understand that the Election Commission of India is saying that 345 parties will be removed from our data, which means they will not be allowed to contest elections. These are known as registered parties. They have registered themselves with the Election Commission of India, but they are unrecognized. Therefore, they are known as RUPPS, recognized but unregistered political parties. Why? Because they have not contested even one election in the last so many years. At least in the last 6 years, they could not be physically identified. No office was found, no headquarters was found, which means they are just becoming a tool in the hands of some ideology, some agenda. They have no serious purpose. So what are registered parties? The first question, very important, GS paper 2, governance and polity. The right to form an association. You know that under Article 19, the right to freedom, there is one specific right which says right to form associations or unions. Very recently, the right to form cooperatives has also become an important fundamental right under Article 19. So all these come under Article 19 1C, that Indian citizens can create associations or groups. Okay, given that it's a fundamental right, political parties are also associations created by some people, individuals who believe in some ideology, some view. Section 29A of the Representation of Peoples Act 1951 says that there are certain requirements which a political party should satisfy before it can be registered with the Election Commission of India. Okay, and once it gets registration, then within 30 days, it should submit a copy of its memorandum, of its basic agenda to the commission. All these conditions are very important. Now, this party, if it is registered, it should also follow the basic principles of constitutions like socialism, secularism, democracy. It should strongly respect the Constitution of India. The Election Commission of India time to time keeps reviewing whether the registered parties are authentic or they are not authentic. And therefore, today, as more than 340 parties have been found which do not seem to be participating in politics at all, they were definitely removed. Generally, the registered yet unrecognized political parties also have some clear-cut benefits, such as they enjoy a massive tax exemption. They do not have to pay tax for a large number of donations that they receive from outside under the Income Tax Act 1961. Similarly, they can have a same or a common election symbol. Apart from that, they can also use celebrities and popular people for their campaigning. So they can hire 20 star campaigners. Every party has some star campaigner, the main face of that political party who endorses its idea. So these parties can have. Plus, they can also receive a donation up to 20,000 in a financial year. Of course, above that, they have to reveal the details to the Election Commission of India. They do get a lot of tax benefits also. But apart from that, the problem is that as per the Election Commission of India's notification, there are more than 2,800 such recognized yet registered yet unrecognized political parties in India on May 2025. Out of them, 750 were the ones who were contesting the elections. In 2024 also, they have participated in various elections. But the remaining ones were invisible parties. They were ghost parties. There is no record of them, and therefore, what choice does the Supreme Court of India has therefore to delist them? Although the Representation of People Act directly does not give the Election Commission of India a clear-cut power to delist parties, but in this situation where we know that a political party is only a nominal entity, it has no real existence, maybe it is being used like a fund to receive donations, but it is not doing anything apart from that. In that case, the valid step for the Election Commission of India is to deregister that party, and time to time Election Commission of India keeps delisting certain parties. That's also necessary to maintain transparency and stop any such hidden crime from taking place. So this is what the article therefore is talking about, and the article also says that as suggested by the Law Commission in 170th and 255th report of the Law Commission, it is important that we create certain strict guidelines and protocols for the Election Commission of India to follow, which it can follow strictly when it comes to delisting or removing certain parties. Rather than doing it a case by case situation, let's have a strict protocol. If a party is satisfying these protocols, it will be on the roll. If it does not, it will be immediately removed. So this makes sure Election Commission of India also maintains its neutral image. It does not have to get engaged with the political agenda of various parties and again waste its time in identifying in a case-to-case basis. That's the pitch of this article, and with this we end today's newspaper. See you soon tomorrow with another such analysis. Should you have any questions and comments, please reach out to us. In the meantime, thank you so much and all the best.